Hi, my name is Kim Sandara, and I was the summer 2019 Post-Grad Artist Resident. So the time-lapse videos of me creating a page in the graphic novel I'm working on called Origins of Kin and King. This graphic novel is kind of how I dealt with being in the closet for like 18 years as a kid, and I used a lot of internal world building, and I used a lot of like becoming the artist I am to cope with the loneliness of not being able to tell anyone about it, not being able to talk about it, and feeling very afraid of being disowned. Um, so this page took maybe like 2 to 3 hours. I was so surprised how quickly time lapse can like squish all of your work together. I finished it and it felt like I just worked on a stop motion where you work for 5 hours and you get 3 seconds out of it. Um, but this scene is actually, it's kind of towards the end. It's like 100, page 108, I think, and it's like about 150 in terms of like the whole book. But this particular page I wanted to share because it happens right after I come out to my mom the first time, and I don't think this talked about enough, but like for some kids, you might have to come out like multiple times to your parents if they're in denial, or like if they don't want to hear it, it makes them feel weird, they don't want to talk about it. It's like having the sex talk and then sexuality combined is like a little overload. So in these scenes, I'm like following my mom around all summer after I like started dating someone. I like really wanted to be proud of dating that person, and I really wanted my mom to accept me. So the first time I told her, she told me, I feel kind of slimy about that. I feel kind of gross. But that didn't stop me from following her and being like, so like I'm still this way. Like it didn't change. Whenever I would hang out with her, it would get to the point where she was like, I know you said you like girls. But yeah, I just love the opportunity to share that moment because I think it's like something like coming out seems like a one-time situation, but it really isn't. Even for like one person, it might not be, but you can still get there. I think that's what I wanted to talk about there. So that's what the page is about. Through the whole time, through that summer, I'm getting like encouraging texts from like my ex-partner, and I want to highlight also how like it's really nice to have support during that time, whether it's like a partner, friend, or community, or other family members. Like that helped me feel less discouraged about continuing to try to come out and continuing to want to be like not just accepted, but like wholeheartedly like unconditionally loved and welcomed. I grew up in Falls Church. So lucky to grow up in a very diverse area with like kids of all colors from all backgrounds and all countries and languages. Um, so I went to Micah, which is in Baltimore. It's a lovely little city, and it was fun to explore for 4 years. I got to meet a lot of great people, and then I came back to the DMV, like to Falls Church, and started exploring DC more. I think that's been really important for my post-grad experience because it's like always been in my backyard, but like I had no business being there as a 16-year-old. Like I didn't have money or a job. Like I didn't need to be in the city. So I really grew up in Virginia, and like now I'm working much more in like Maryland and DC, and like really getting to know people in those communities. I actually really wanted to be a teacher when I was younger. I loved my teachers. I was one of those little kids who loved to go to school and learn new things. But I saw as I was growing up that no matter what I was doing, I would continually come back to creating and art. And every art class I've ever had has always encouraged me to be my most authentic self, which I think spoke to me my whole life. There was like this Van Gogh piece I always looked at when I was quite young, like maybe in first grade. There was this Van Gogh poster that my art teacher had up, and I would look at it every day and think, that is so perfect. I want to find like my version of that. And so that's kind of how I got started. I've learned how to do stop motion animation. That was kind of just like a something I thought I would just dabble in a little bit, but then I got really interested in the small technical um, like process of it, like making the puppets. Because I'm like kind of into sculpture, was really satisfying because I could it's something smaller I could use. I like got into graphic novels and kind of more sequential art later on in my college years because I loved how it communicates something. It's very accessible. It can be done in an abstract manner. It can be done in a more representational manner, but in whatever way it's working with time and how we perceive time. I really thought about these causes that I care about, and one of them is the very invisible problem of LGBT homelessness in our youth. I think there's about like a 40% chance that they are in the LGBT plus community. A lot of kids are getting kicked out or like feel unsafe in their homes, and it's just something we don't talk about and we don't relate to immediately as like homelessness. Um, of course, that encompasses a lot of Black and brown bodies as well. It's something that's also not talked about enough. So I really wanted to use my experience as an Asian American woman talking about a coming out story, because that's not very spotlight lit, and then use some of the profits from the book to give to a nonprofit that will help kids also in this coming of age period of their lives get back on their feet, figure out, the things that inspire them, create community. So it's going to take some time to like really get that right, and I'm not going to rush it. But yeah. I used to go to a lot of local drag shows, and now they're all online. So sometimes I would just take some paintings stuff out, and I would just start painting. It's like kind of cool because usually I wouldn't be able to go out to a party and like just start painting. But if it's a DJ on the screen, like why not? I've used one of those paintings to give back to the DMV to this group called Virtual Underground DC that formed around like the birth of COVID. Just like DC creatives coming together to like do weekly DJ sessions and have an artist do a live stream. I don't know if I have a favorite creative tool. I think painting has brought me a lot of joy though, and I do have this dream of one day being able to have a studio space so big that I can paint with a broom. That would be fabulous. I got a critique once in school when I had a lot more space to make scroll paintings. And one of my teachers told me, like, you should just buy a broom one day and try it out. And I've always thought about her and, like, that suggestion. I really want to do that one day. I would definitely tell my younger self to be like, stick with that idea. Like, don't give it up. They're going to tell you, like, throw away, like, don't be afraid to start all over. But, like, sometimes you need to have some kind of backbone to why you're there in the first place. That it's going to be harder. It's going to be harder for me, anyone else who's POC, Black, comes from an immigrant family, is maybe middle to lower income. It's going to be harder. And you're going to see people that have it easier, but it doesn't make it impossible for you to still do what you need to do. There's always going to be ways for you to find a resource. There's always going to be ways to rethink problem solutions, ideas. So don't get disheartened by how privilege is not all equal. Just focus on what you have and go from there.